Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Bridges, and I have the privilege of serving with the Table of Christian Education, Faith Formation, and Leadership Development with the National Council of Churches of Christ in the USA. I also serve as a United Methodist Pastor here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I come to you from the sanctuary of St. John's. It was going to be easier to set up the microphones and everything to get a better recording. Now, as a table, we've had a beautiful array of wonderful videos of spiritual practices in the Spiritual Practices to Sustain Our Spirit-Led Work for Justice project over these last months. That they range from expressing our faith and practices through word and song, to being guided by icons in our faithful meditations, to listening deeply and intently in our faith. I started thinking about how I might be able to contribute in this area, and one perspective I'd like to add as a spiritual practice deals with music, arranging and reimagining faithful hymns and scripture that have guided us over generations of belief. Music is one way that I express and understand faith, and I'd like to share that with you today. This is a practice I've developed over the years in how I contribute to music in worship settings and also for my own personal spiritual development. The practice is taking an already existing hymn or scripture set to music and reimagining it musically as to how it speaks to me in the moment or in a season in the life of the church. I take a piece of music and read these lyrics and listen deeply to how they impact me emotionally in the moment. Then I think about the context of the lyrics, the purpose of the lyrics. I try to imagine how the Spirit was leading the composer in the setting in which they were written. And then I ask myself, how is the Spirit guiding me in this moment when it comes to the music and the message? What follows is that I try to connect those emotions and lyrics through the music that I create, music that helps guide me in the moment. What results is a new recasting of the original song based on what the text speaks to me. This certainly is not an exercise to undermine an original work or to feel that I can improve on an original work or that an original work perhaps was lacking in some way. But it's more a practice to find a deeper meaning of faith within me and how I'm going to grow from that. I provided an example today that I'd like to share with you. It's an arrangement of the famous hymn, "In the Garden," or "I Come to the Garden Alone." I've heard this song throughout my life and think it's a wonderful melody. I've heard it and led it in various worship settings. But years ago during Lent, I heard this song in a new way and began thinking about the lyrics in a new way. What if instead of this song being someone expressing the intimacy of a person recounting their experiences and listening for Jesus in nature and communicating with God in nature, what if the nature setting was the Garden of Gethsemane and this interaction was a conversation between God and Jesus? What did that conversation look and feel like in that moment where Jesus ultimately concludes, "Not my will, but yours"? What would that conversation sound like musically? That question led to meditation over the text and reimagining a melody that might fit that scenario. And the result for me was a somber melody and reimagining this hymn in a minor key. And I want to lift up just a couple of points about the text. Within the text, I've actually reworded a couple of things to fit more the melody that I've come up with. For example, and the melody he speaks and the sound of his voice is so sweet the birds hush their singing. I've changed the word sweet to jarring because as I reimagine that, I can only think of a voice as jarring in that kind of conversation. Also in the first line, I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. To fit Jesus as the speaker, I just simply changed it to "this God discloses." And finally, in the chorus, and the joy we share as we tarry there, I've actually changed the word joy to woe as we tarry there. None other has ever known. I've also kept the pronouns of the song intentionally to maintain the relationship and language that Jesus used in his references to God. So here is "In the Garden" reimagined as this conversation, perhaps, between God and Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. This song for me changes a little bit every time I play it. Sometimes I hit the chords I mean to, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have to hold out my voice a little bit so I can find the next chord that I have going in my heart and brain at the time. And I like that about it. It makes it just, I think, a little more real for me, and I like it being unpolished. I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, this God discloses, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the woe we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so jarring the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the woe we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling, but he bids me go through a voice of woe, his voice to me is calling, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the woe we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known, none other has ever known. So you can see that it changes just a little bit, a lot, of that original melody. And I'm grateful to this melody. It's spoken to me at different times and different seasons during the year, but especially during Lent every year. And, as you might hear, I'm not exactly a piano player, but I've learned over the years how to put different chords together because I'm more of a guitar player. But, that doesn't really matter. It's however we work to express our faith in music, if we feel so inclined or if we feel like exploring it. And so I hope that maybe you get a chance, and this has sparked a little bit of imagination in you to take a look just a little bit differently at the hymns that we sing periodically in our worship services, or that we just hear on the radio, or that we sit down and just read because of the richness that they offer in their original form. So I ask, what hymns and songs speak deeply to you that you might be able to reimagine and find new and even deeper meaning for yourself? I'd love to talk with you more about it sometime. In the meantime, may you continue on your spiritual journey and adopt and then develop spiritual practices of your own that help you continue to grow in your faith formation, in your spiritual journey, in your Christian education. Thank you for letting me share with you today.